We're always trying to improve the way our systems work, and we've been selling the vertical garden for years now, and lots of people have been growing their gardens that way. But we come up with an even better way that works even cheaper to make this plastic pipe fit together, and that's what I'm about to show you here. If you don't already have the vertical gardening system, then you should check out easiestgarden.com, and you can buy the video there, and it'll tell you all the information about how to build it, how to put the fertilizer and the plants and everything else together. And here we're just going to show you that extra little idea that we had that'll save you a lot of money if you've already bought the video. Except for the pump, the only real expense in building this gardening system is in the PVC adapters to go from 4 inches down to 2 inches, and the T's involved. So that means you have to buy a T, it means you have to buy a 2-inch to 4-inch adapter, it means you have to buy a 4-inch thick wall to 4-inch thin wall adapter, and all those fittings together can cost you $10, $20, sometimes $30 per pipe. And that's the only real expense you're going to run into. So we thought about that and we came up with a better way. So what we do is we take a piece of 4-inch pipe, heat it, stretch it out sideways, form it into this shape here, and then we take a piece of 2-inch pipe and set it into the 2-inch pipe. And I'll show you how we do all that starting now. So to make this shape, first we heat the 4-inch pipe. That allows us to stretch it out sideways. Then we need to make a form so that this pipe will stretch out over it and shape like that. Just take it heated here, and then as this heats and stretches and you push it down over, it'll get wide like this, and as it gets wider it gets narrower. And then we'll make the slot in the 2-inch pipe. So make our form piece here. So this needs to be 6 inches wide. So we're going to mark 6 inches from the left side. Then use a tri-square. Mark it up. Go ahead and run the length of the tri-square here. Now, up here needs to be about 6 inches as well. This length doesn't matter so much. So mark across here. And we're going to mark 1 inch from each side here. So 1 inch like this, and 1 inch like this. And then put a mark about 2 or 3 inches along the top side of that here. Doesn't need to be all the way down. And then mark another mark 4 inches up here, and put another line across. Then take your tri-square, lay it so that the 45-degree angle comes along like this, and then bring it over here and set it so that it just intersects with the inner of the lines from your 1 inch over and your 4 inches up. And then mark along like this, reverse it, and mark along like this. And that will give you, so here you can see I've got 6 inches up, 6 inches over. This is 1 inch in from this side, and this is 1 inch in from this side, and this line is 4 inches up from the bottom. And I drew this line here across at an angle. We're actually going to cut from here along this line and along this line and over, and then of course along this line and up. We're going to ignore all these lines here, so you can go ahead and put a little line across through him like this, so we know that we're not going to actually cut along those lines. Those are just there for our reference. That way we don't make a mistake and accidentally cut one of those lines later. When I cut this with the saw here in a minute, I'm going to actually round off these corners a little bit with the saw. So it's actually come along like that, and then in a little bit like this. So it'll be smoother for the pipe when it slides down over it. Okay, so here we have the piece we just cut out. You see how these edges are smoothed off a little bit. Now, we need to have these edges here rounded a bit more. They're square because I just cut them. So I'm going to take this to the disc sander I have. You can also use a belt sander or any other grinder or power sander you have that'll cut down on wood. And round these off a little bit, like I did this one. As you can see, rounded like this. Doesn't have to be perfectly round, just enough to make the edges smooth enough so that it doesn't grab the pipe and cut it as it goes over it. Okay, so I've sanded this down. You can see I've spent most of the time right here trying to get this smoother, because up here it's hardly going to even be touching the pipe, and here is where it's going to be doing all the work stretching and getting it out smooth. So if you're going to sand it, this needs to be sanded right here the most. Now take this, you can screw it up against a block, you can screw it up against a table that has a wooden side on, or whatever you can screw it up into, or you can put in a vise if you have one like this. Something that's stable so it won't be able to be pushed off there like that when you put your pipe on there, because you're going to be pushing on it quite hard. Now, we're going to take a piece of 4-inch pipe. Now you can do this after you get your pockets made in here, or you can do it beforehand. If you do it beforehand, it's better because once you get this out here flat, like this one is shaped, this is going to be the front side, or the back side, but either way, it's not going to be able to put like this. If you have your pockets in a line over here, then it's going to look silly. So make sure you have it lined up right before you put your pockets in it, or if you have your pockets in it, make sure that you make this so that it lines up with the pockets facing forward. Now to make it stretch, we take a heat gun. Now this is used for paint stripping, it's pretty widely available, or you can use a hair dryer if it gets hot enough. And then we're going to heat about the first 4 inches here this way. We're going to keep this moving, get it hot, and then we're going to stretch it over here. You want to keep the heat gun about 2 inches away, 1 inch to 2 inches away from the pipe. You want to keep the pipe moving at all times, or the heat gun moving, or both. If you stay too long in one spot, it'll get hot, and it'll start melting and turn black on you. So keep it moving until it gets really soft. It'll probably take about 1 to 2 minutes to get good and soft. Alright, now about 2 minutes have gone by, and you periodically pick up the pipe and push it against something and see if it's getting soft. You can see how soft it's getting there and starting to fold on me. That's what we're after. It still needs to be a little bit hotter yet, so we're going to keep heating it, keep moving it. You can work on the inside of the pipe too. Try to get your heat from the inside out. Otherwise the heat has to go all the way through the outside to get to the inside, and this will speed up the heating process quite a bit. And back to the outside. It's better to have a little bit too hot than not hot enough. It needs to be evenly heated all the way around, or this won't work. Okay, I think that might work. Put it in here, stretch it over there like that, and push down and twist. You spin a little bit like that as you go. Straighten it up, make sure it's lined up right. And then, you see it stretch over here, but it still bubbles out just a little bit right here. So you pull out the vise, move that down about 1.5 inches, and tighten it up again. And now when it hardens as it cools, it'll be flat across the middle. You'll have no trouble getting into the 2-inch pipe that we're about to make. You can cool this a lot faster by taking a spray bottle and spritzing a little bit of water on it, an old Windex bottle with some water in it, anything like that, a water hose, just to cool down the plastic faster. Or you can just let it cool on its own. It'll take about 10 minutes. Okay, so I splashed some water on it to cool it off, and I picked it up enough to get back on the wood again. Clamp it back down in the vise. Pull it like this. Now this slot should be about 6 inches long by 1 inch wide, and that's the slot we're going to make in our 2-inch pipe here in a minute. The only thing you need to do differently when you're doing it this way with this kind of a pipe is that you're going to make sure you get your line at the center, like I mentioned before, and you need to make your filter screen a little bit wider and a little bit narrower, so that when you drop your filter screen down the middle to keep your perlite from going into the bottom, like we did in the other ones, there it was a round hole we cut out of it. Here it's going to be more of an oval and a little bit longer, so that you can just shove it down the inside here once you get your cups made. And now we'll make on a 2-inch pipe. So the key to doing this is the same as it was there, the heat gun. Once you get PVC pipe hot, it's soft and pliable and you can do a lot of things. You can see our PVC video for more information about that. But once you get it hot, you can actually cut through it with a pocket knife. You can't cut through it now, but you cut through it when it's warm with a pocket knife. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this end that we made, we're going to set it on this piece of pipe, we're going to take a pencil and mark a line right along the outside edge of it, all the way along. Alright, and now we're going to heat that to where it's good and soft, and then we're going to cut inside that line just a little bit. Okay, so I put a piece of pipe in the vise with a bell on the end of it so that I can push this in it so it'll hold it. If you just put this in the vise, it'll just smash it flat and you won't be able to hold it good. So you have to put another piece that you're not heating into the vise and push this into that. Now I've been heating this for about 2 minutes again. I've got the mark on here. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut this line. If you have a die grinder that you can have a little stone on the end so you can grind out the plastic a little bit when you're done, you can cut the hole a little bit small and then grind it out so it'll be perfectly straight. If you don't, or you just want to be a little bit sloppy about it, then you cut along the line a little bit outside the line so that'll fit in here. That should be hot enough now, so we're just going to trace along here, poke through, and then just draw along that line. You see how easily it cuts now. This would not be possible before you heated it. And then once you get it cool again, it'll go right back to being the rigid pipe it always was. And now, when this drops in there, it should just fit. It's best to put it in there while it's still a bit warm so it'll form out a little bit and fit the shape it's going to be. So now, when these things drain, they're going to come down into this pipe. And this is 2-inch pipe, the same as you would have used the other way. And then you just hook up to your drain pipes like we were going to hook up in the other way. And everything is exactly like that, except that this cost you nothing, and the other way costs you about $10 or $20 a pipe. To make sure that this sets in there, so that when you tie all of it together, like I tell you in the other part of the video, that this will all sit in here and not be pulled out like this by stresses or by pushing down on the other pipes or whatever. So this stays together, otherwise you have a drain and have a mess in your location. So that's really about all there is to it. And I just thought this was an idea worth passing on to you. It would save you a lot of money as you use this video.